New developments. Hunter Biden's trying to sort of pass the buck, trying to say, oh, you know, it's only because of who I am that they're going after me for this one. Apparently, he didn't pay some $1.4 million worth of taxes to the IRS. He was collecting, according to James Comer in the House Oversight Committee, somewhere around, $24 million for himself and his family, thanks to all those various LLCs. By the way, interesting, they still haven't gotten him on the foreign agent thing. He never registered as a foreign agent, a foreign lobbying agent. So that's kind of a problem. But, you know, we're just going one step at a time here. And this stuff just blows me absolutely, positively away. What was Hunter Biden spending money on? Well, can we take a look at this picture? I want you to see. So according to the feds, he had quite the spending habits. So if you look at this, right above my shoulder, what you'll see is a column called Various Women. Payments. Various Women. I mean, that one just, I find incredible, right? And he was quite active with these payments with various women. 4,400. Wow, that was a low year for him, 2016, right? You go forward to 2017, 138,000. By 2018, it was 383,000, nearly $400,000. Wow, what was he doing in 2018? Gosh, that wasn't around the time of some of the Burisma stuff, was it? Anyway, 2019, 156,000 for a grand total, ladies and gentlemen, of $683,000 that Hunter Biden was paying to these various women. Oh, and if you go down the columns, you know, it gets even more interesting. 188,000 he's spending on adult entertainment. Let me just say that this is all while he claimed he was too poor to pay his child support payments. What a guy. What a guy. Of course, these are allegations. And the feds are coming after him. And really, there's nowhere for him to hide. Nowhere. Unless what? He just tries to twist this around and say, oh, you know, oh, poor me. They're just going after me because my father is this brilliant president. And they know that this will destroy him if they, quote, kill me. That's what he said. That's what he said. So he went on this podcast. Moby's a former musician, has this little podcast, and he's talking. And you got to hear this clip. You just got to hear it because the audacity of him, like you'd think there'd be some remorse. You know, maybe I'm a little embarrassed about my $683,000 on payments to various women. You'd think, but you're a normal person, right? I'm a normal person. I don't know who he is or what he is or like, who are these people, right? Who does this kind of stuff? Anyway, let's hear from Hunter himself, his explanation of this, disaster.
They are trying to, in their most illegitimate way, but rational way, they're trying to destroy a presidency. And so it's not about me. In their most base way, what they're trying to do is they're trying to kill me, knowing that it will be a pain greater than my father could be able to handle.
I'm sorry. Did you hear that? Did we hear that correctly together? He said they are trying to kill me because it will be so painful for my father. I mean, you want to talk about a selfish, you know what? This is one selfish dude who's messed up in epic ways. I feel for his dad, okay? Let me just say, like, that's not great, right? Like, it's awful that he has a son like that. But at what point do you say, okay, you know what? I care about my son enough not to put him in the crosshairs of things. By the way, he should be in the crosshair of things. You don't take more than $1 million out of an ATM and think that, like, that's fine in cash. I was wondering why the Biden administration was so keen on going after cash, right? They really want to watch everybody's bank records. They were talking about if you had so much as $600 at one point in transactions in your bank that they were going to come after you. Really? I was like, why? Like, they're going to go after billionaires like that? That's what they said. They were going to go after the billionaires. And then I see that Hunter was taking out more than $1 million in ATM withdrawals. I mean, cash. And now I get it. Okay. So they're living in a different world and they think everybody does this. Oh, let me tell you, first of all, don't have this kind of money. But second of all, most people, even if they did, would not be doing this. $683,000 on various women, $188,000 on adult entertainment, all while you don't pay your child support or your taxes for that matter. What a guy. It's really disgusting. And I'm glad this is coming out. And this is more, I suspect, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. This is bigger. There's more there. There's much, much more there. And that's what we got to get to the bottom of. In other words, how much was Joe getting? That's what James Comer is trying to figure out. And he thinks, the House Oversight Committee thinks it's a lot. And if they're correct, then that speaks volumes about what the Oval Office has become. It's actually really devastating for the country. But I'll tell you this, we need to know the answer. We have to know the answer because it's what we are. We have to preserve the integrity of that office. I mean, unbelievable. All right. So they still are not getting into the foreign agent thing. I mean, the guy's like over there in China. He's over in Ukraine. He's making $83,000 a month on a board job for Burisma, a company he knew nothing about there. He was discharged from the military for his addictions. I mean, this is one messed up guy. And I just keep coming back saying, well, why didn't he register as a foreign lobbying agent? Well, he couldn't, you see, because apparently Obama didn't like that. And so he didn't want anybody's family members out there doing the foreign lobbying. I don't like Obama much, but you know what? I'm glad that he at least did that, right? Like you shouldn't. I mean, save it until you're out of office, buddy. That's when you do it. Of course, you know, Joe was up there in age. Maybe they figured this was their only opportunity. So he's getting $83,000 from Burisma. Joe did his thing. We talked the other day about all the emails that were going back and forth, the personal emails under those various aliases. They got really ratcheted up while Joe was in Ukraine. So you got to ask the question, what was really going on there? And was Burisma paying for basically things to be done on their behalf and get Chokin, who was that prosecutor, kind of out of the way? That has to be examined. And you can't just sit there and tell me, oh, it's because they want to take Biden down. You know, you think about how this first came about. They'll try and tell you it was political. Apparently, Hunter was on some sketchy websites, you know, related to those various women, those payments. So he's on these sketchy websites that were international in nature. And so that's how the FBI was first tapped into all of this. That's how they first came to learn about his laptop, because he was doing other stuff. And yet the left wanted you to think it was just misinformation fed to you courtesy of the Russians and Rudy Giuliani. No, this was a real investigation that was going on. And they sat there and lied to us and lied to us and lied to us. I mean, they've lied to us so much. At this point, you're kind of like, what's what? Like, what is what? Up is down. Down is up. Man is woman. Woman is, I mean, like, don't get me going. Anyway, I want to go to this MSNBC soundbite because there's this guy who was on the J6 committee. So he was an investigator, he's a lawyer, he's on the J6 committee, and he's making the rounds. You know, it's an all-out effort to protect Hunter right now and to therefore protect Biden. So he goes on MSNBC earlier today, and I want to share this with you because they're trying to spin this as no big deal. It's just that he's Hunter Biden. Watch.
I think that point from Hunter Biden's lawyer as to whether this would be happening if his last name wasn't Biden is a real question. And I will say, as a former DOJ prosecutor, more and more it looks like that to me. It looks like someone who's not getting a fair shake and is being treated more harshly because of their proximity to the president.
Oh, that's all it is, right? You know what? He's getting treated more harshly. If you ask me, he's been treated pretty darn well, right? This whole thing almost went totally swept under the rug. It was almost all gone. Except there happened to be one judge who was like, you know, this doesn't really make sense. I don't really think I can sign off on this. I can't sign off and promise that nobody's ever going to go after him for foreign lobbying, right? And that's how this all came about. Amazing. They put David Weiss as the special prosecutor in charge of all of this, even though that's actually not a very typical thing to do, because you see David Weiss was already working for the government. Usually the special prosecutor, comes in from afar. There's a lot of irregularities here that I think are all about. They're all about one thing: protecting Hunter Biden. So that J6 guy, let me tell you, there are people that are getting arrested for way less than what he is accused of doing here. So that is a bunch of bogus nonsense. Nonsense. All right. Meanwhile, that they're just going to continue running with it. This theme that it's just because, they want to go after Biden, therefore they're going after Hunter, which is why perhaps Biden, after telling us, my son did nothing wrong. My son did nothing wrong. I'm so proud of my son. You're really proud of your son who's spending nearly $700,000 on these various women? Gee, that's great to be proud of, Joe. We're really happy to hear that. You got that moral compass just down. So I want to show again this clip of the president literally ignoring reporters because it is a very bad day at the White House. Let's go.
Mr. President, any comment on the new charges against your son, Mr. President? Have you called Speaker Johnson on the border in Ukraine funding, Mr. President?
You heard the question about the son. He just keeps walking. He keeps walking. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And you know what? They have gotten the edict there at the White House. KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, who might just be one of the worst press secretaries we have ever seen. Look, being press secretary is not a good gig. Nobody wants to do that because basically you're being told to go and lie every day, right? It's spin, 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 spin. So it's not really what you think. It's what the administration wants you to spin it to be. So don't get me wrong, like, hard job. But that means you got to be really smart because you got to outthink everyone and you have to actually understand stuff like the economy. So when they actually ask you things on Bidenomics, you don't just say things that are really dumb and foolish. Well, she says a lot of things, unfortunately for her, that are really dumb and foolish. Except on this issue. She just shuts it down. End of press conference. Look at this. I got to play this bite for you guys because this is Karine Jean-Pierre, who clearly doesn't know what to say. So when in doubt, just shut it all down. One reporter this week dared to ask her about a possible connection between Hunter Biden and his dad, his father, given that there was some commingling, shall we say, of the bank accounts. Watch her response. Here we go.
The White House has said repeatedly that the president and his son were never in business together. They've said that repeatedly also in this room. According to bank records obtained by the House Oversight Committee, though, one of Hunter Biden's businesses, Osawa PC, set up direct payments to the president. Did the president accept payment? And why would there be such an arrangement if they were never in business together or if there was a wall of separation, as the president has previously said?
So I have to be clear with you. I have not seen that report, so I would have to refer you to my colleagues over at the White House counsel's office on that particular question. All right, everyone. See some of you in Boston or on Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.
She's like, bye-bye, bye-bye. We're done here. I can't get into this stuff, right? This is complicated. And this is why we have to move forward with these impeachment proceedings. I mean, this inquiry, it's a no-brainer. I mean, wow. So they're like fake impeachment inquiry, and everybody got the sort of edict, this particular letter, all these networks. And so consequently, they were flipping out and they changed their tune, which may have something to do with how they're characterizing this now, right? They're scared. They're scared because, heck, you know what? The social media meme maker got arrested 8 days after Biden came into office. Listen, I mean, this is a pretty, you want to talk about, dare I say, dictatorship. I mean, it kind of feels that way sometimes with this team in the White House. So CNN knows, like, they have to be careful. So they're going to carry the White House's water. They would never do this, by the way, for Donald Trump. Can you imagine if this was Don Jr.? In all seriousness, can you imagine? Can you imagine what would happen if this was Don Jr. and there was $683,000 on various women? Wow. Anyway, it would be insane. And yet here is how CNN presented the news this morning.
now facing 9 new federal criminal charges as investigators say he avoided paying $1.4 million in taxes, instead spending that money on things like drugs, escorts, pornography, and luxury hotels.
Now, Hunter Biden is not President Joe Biden, and there is no allegation in the 56-page indictment that the president did anything wrong. He's not even mentioned, but that is not stopping House Republicans from making Hunter Biden's business dealings a basis for their impeachment inquiry.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Enough already, guys. I love, you know what? I've worked with both those individuals and I actually like them very, very much. But if you notice the sort of straight delivery of the male anchor there, he's very straight. He's just listing off drugs, women, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like just in a very dispassionate way, like apples, oranges, pineapples. It's a grocery list, right? And then the other one, she's like, we just want to make sure. We just want to make sure that you know that Joe Biden has not been implicated in any way. Well, isn't that what this whole impeachment inquiry is about? Let's be, thoughtful about this, right? An impeachment would be designed to try him because they believe that there are these crimes. So they're doing this investigation, which needs to happen, even though the media doesn't want it. Look at this MSNBC anchor. She's like, but, talking to Chris Christie, and she thinks Chris Christie is going to kind of support her on this line, and he sort of goes, and watch the turn that he does. This is very interesting. She's like, okay, let's play this clip.
Is it unfair for the House to be, according to the Speaker, going ahead with a vote to open an impeachment inquiry? That's the test for that is high crimes and misdemeanors.
Well, look, I don't know. I think it would be unfair to vote articles of impeachment because there's no evidence there. But I think the House has an appropriate oversight function. Now, Andrea, whether that's done with the House Oversight Committee or whether it's done through an impeachment inquiry, I think what matters the most is that people get all the information they need about the president's conduct for Congress to have appropriate oversight and for the public to make a judgment since Joe Biden has declared himself a candidate for re-election for 2024. So that information should be public. It should be transparent. The White House should fully cooperate with both the investigations being done by the Justice Department and any oversight that happens from the House, because if the president has nothing to hide, he shouldn't be hiding anything.
Okay, there you go. It's a no-brainer. In other words, we need the information. And I suspect that the information is going to indeed lead to impeachment. Impeachment now looms for Joe Biden. And back channel, I'm hearing through various sources that they believe that they do have the votes. Because as you comb through those bank records and you see something, well, just as simple, they'll tell you it's a car payment. And hey, maybe it is, but you can't actually pay from your LLC into your dad's personal account without raising a few eyebrows. I mean, he had direct deposits going back and forth. This was Hunter Biden and Joe. Hunter's putting it into his dad's account from the LLCs into his dad's personal account as a direct deposit on a monthly basis. This is not okay. It's not done. Who were his accountants? I mean, this is really kind of amateur hour in every way, shape, and form, except, this guy had access. This guy is Hunter Biden, one of the elites, and he gets to do things that nobody else can do. And then when he's called out on it, they're trying however they can to back him up, to defend him. And he's got the media and the entire machine on his side.